Okay, so today I'll be presenting on Match Group. I will be referring to the same presentation over on this monitor because my setup is a little bit janky, so bear with me on that one. So I'm going to start off with a bit of a company overview first off, and then we'll move over into an industry analysis. Then we'll look at their financials, and that'll kind of conclude the presentation. So we'll move over into the company overview to start with. So Match Group is a company that is comprised of a large portfolio of brands. That's their business strategy. They are developing a large portfolio of brands to reach the most number of singles and large number of individuals as possible, both in the US and abroad. So that's kind of the way that they're approaching the dating services industry, and has been very successful for them as well. So they're a multinational corporation. They have 40 plus brands. They have in 40 different languages in 190 countries. So they are very, very, very well integrated globally. Those large brands kind of include Tinder, OkCupid, Meetic, Hinge is a big growing one. It's a recent purchase, as well as Match.com. I'll get into these later as we talk about the individual company growth drivers, but those are the ones to keep in mind that are kind of the majority of what Match Group kind of is. So, and then finally they have 49% market share. They're a very dominant company. Their brand strategy, their brand portfolio strategy is really what's giving them that edge over the competition. Okay. So these are just some images I pulled off of their investor relations page on Match.com or on Match Group, their website. And so you can see they have very strong revenue and EBITDA growth over the past 4 years. And this is forecasted to continue to grow, whether it's at this high of a pace, maybe not, but we are looking to see that continue to grow. And that all kind of depends on how they approach emerging markets as well. That growth could very well increase as well. And so we'll move over into kind of their drivers and kind of what makes them so successful as a company and what brings in a lot of their cash. To start with, we'll start with Tinder. Tinder is their largest brand. It's their most popular brand. It is their fastest growing brand. Tinder came on the scene in 2012 roughly, and it kind of just went viral. It was the first to introduce the swiping system for dating apps, and that really caught on and was really popular, especially among younger people. And so that's gone viral. Ton of subscribers. You have 83% compound annual growth rate of subscribers over the past 4 years, as well as 158% revenue CAGR over that same time frame. So a lot of revenue growth, a lot of subscriber growth, and it's continuing on the same trend. In 2018, it generated about $805 million. So that was a large part of Match Group's overall revenues. And then, so one of the special things about Tinder as well is that it monetizes in 4 different ways. So the first two, you have subscription-based monetization systems. You have Tinder Plus and then Tinder Gold. Tinder Plus kind of is like a half step, and it unlocks some of the full potential of the app, but not the whole thing. Tinder Gold is what gives you that full thing. They're both at different price points as well. So those are the 2 of the ways that they kind of generate money. The third one is a la carte in-app purchases. So if you just want to buy another super like, you found the one maybe, you can go ahead, you can make one purchase and increase your user satisfaction on the spot right there. So that's another big one as well. And then finally, you have advertising. Every once in a while when you go through a profile, you'll see an advertisement, and that's just a quick source of revenue as well. So very special, that it can generate revenue in so many different ways, and it has been very successful. Tinder is also finding a lot of success in India as well, which is one of their largest emerging markets, and other emerging markets as well. So it's again still finding that continued growth, and it's living off of that viral growth period that it's kind of still in. So the next five are not as exciting as Tinder in terms of growth rates, but they are very important. They do generate a lot of revenue for the company, and they all kind of target their own individual niche in a way, in their own individual way. So they're all unique, and they target unique groups of people. They kind of round out that major cash machine, that revenue growth engine there. So that's kind of the bulk of what makes Match Group so successful, is right here. The rest of their brands are also doing the same thing. It's just those are the ones that are really, is kind of like the net, and these are the anchors that are holding down the market. So that's important to consider as well. So we'll go ahead and move over into the potential overseas. So there is a decent amount of potential overseas. Actually, there's an incredible amount of potential over there. So in the US, you have about 50% of the single population has never actually used a dating service. 75% of the global single population is abroad. So that's one major population. The second is 66% of that population actually has never used a dating product. So huge growth potential, a huge untapped market that is just waiting for someone to come and target it and attack it. So that's kind of what Match Group is looking to do. They are moving overseas. They're continuing to grow. They're continuing to expand into that global market. As you can kind of see with Meetic, is that portfolio of brands over in Europe. So that's very important. You have that large growth potential overseas. And then another point that's very important to mention as well about Match is that their actual brand, or their business strategy, is perfectly created to tackle foreign markets. So because the industry is fragmented, they are built of a portfolio of brands. So that means that they're targeting individual groups already. All they have to do is the exact same thing, except over in a different country. There is going to be a new group of people. They have different cultures, different customs, they have different preferences when dating, they have different religion, whatever it may be. Match is already kind of used to attacking these different cultures and kind of tailoring to the needs of the people that they're trying to target. And so with this strategy, they can do that very easily overseas as well. One thing to highlight as well is that you have India over here. About 11% in 2018 of people actually use a dating product. That's looking to probably grow a lot in the next few years as their economy continues to thrive, if it continues to thrive and continues to grow. So that will be a big player in the coming years. So you have the industry shakedown. We'll move this is kind of just the overview of the industry real quick. They're highly fragmented, a lot of different groups that have a lot of different tastes that only want to date specific people. They're looking for specific things that have their own tastes. So people are picky, and Match Group is great at giving them what they want. So that's kind of the industry overview, like kind of the groundwork. $3 billion in annual revenue. They have forecasted 5-year growth. So over the past 5 years, the growth rate was around 11%, thereabout. Over the next 5 years, it's forecasted to be about 7.3%. Lower growth rate, but it is still high. There's still a lot of growth potential, so it is still very exciting for Match Group. Now, moving on to this point number 4, this is kind of the actual breakdown of the industry itself. Probably about 10 years ago or so, you would have seen a lot higher percentages next to matchmakers and singles events, where mobile use was pretty low, internet connection or internet reliance really was definitely not what it was today, that's for sure. And now you kind of see that reversal, and you see mobile dating and online dating becoming the big, huge chunks of this industry. And so those are the reasons I bolded them, because those are what we need to be paying attention to. That's where the growth is. That's where the money is. And that's also what Match Group is doing such a good job at targeting, especially with, for example, Tinder. You have that mobile dating market pretty much locked down. So that is important. Again, you have, for the industry growth drivers, you have these top 3 that are bolded. Those are the important ones that we need to be focusing on. So mobile internet connections, as people begin to use or have more access to mobile devices, smartphones, iPads, whatever it may be, and you have more just overall internet connectivity in different countries, different markets, and internet reliance, you're going to see a whole lot more usage of online dating and mobile dating. So that'll be big in the coming years as various emerging markets continue to kind of grow and expand and develop their technology and their infrastructure. Per capita disposable income, this is kind of tied into leisure time and vice versa. Per capita disposable income, plain and simple, you have more money to spend, you're more likely to go on a date, to be able to afford to go on a date, or you're going to be more willing to want to look for someone to hang out with, you know what I mean? So that'll be very big for mobile dating and online dating as well. And then leisure time is tied in because you have a little bit more money, maybe you have a little bit more time to spend, more time, more money, find someone to date. Perfect combination, and that's where you're going to see a lot of growth. So leisure time, also kind of necessary if you're working 80-hour work weeks and you're struggling to just to get by and to pay rent. You're most likely not going to download Tinder and try and find someone to take to dinner. So that's a big one. The next 3, they're big, they're just not as big as the first 3, so I won't go into them really all that much right now, but we can talk about those more later in person if we need to. So we'll go into competition here. So like I said, it's a very highly fragmented market, so it's very highly competitive. However, it is also very highly concentrated. You have Match Group with such a high market share that a lot of the concentration is actually in with one company, which is the company that we're looking at, which is very good for Match Group. But again, there is still a lot of competition. I think about 2,200 firms in total in this industry. So their main competitor is eHarmony. eHarmony has about 11 to 12%, 11.9% really, of the market share, and they're continuing to increase ever so slightly. Then again, so is Match Group, so there's not much of a competition there. Well, there isn't really much of a threat there. However, if eHarmony becomes a huge player overseas, that might become an issue. But for now, we're seeing a lot of dominance by Match Group, not a whole lot of threats to them. Now, with the increasing use of mobile devices, internet connectivity, and internet reliance, you may see new players entering the game, especially as infrastructure kind of develops overseas. You'll have domestic companies in those foreign countries begin to emerge, and in order for Match Group to kind of stay on top of that, they will probably need to make some acquisitions or need to develop their own brands, whatever it may be. But that could pose some more threatening competition later down the road. Okay, so now that kind of concludes it for the industry overview. We'll move over into the financials here. So this is just kind of the company screener. It kind of shows you the numbers there, revenue, gross profit, the works. We'll actually just move straight over into the company financial summary. So to kind of give a little more information. So the current and quick ratio, depending on where you look, they're close to 1. Actually, on Finviz right now, they're both 1. Thing is, there's really just not a whole lot of inventory or miscellaneous expenses here that would make them very different. Not necessarily. So you see the other three companies are all fairly similar as well. So they have decent liquidity in the short run, but where we really want to be looking at and maybe not concerned but conscious of is the long run. So their long-term debt to equity is fairly high. They have about 1.15 billion in debt. A large part of that was acquired to pay a one-time dividend. The backstory behind that is they're 80% owned, 83% owned by Interactive Corporation, which used to be Match Group's parent company. And so that dividend was kind of just used to pay the company, but it left Match Group with a whole lot of debt. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense why they did it, but they did nonetheless. So that is something to be conscious of, not necessarily worried about just now, because they are generating fairly large cash flows, and they are continuing to grow in revenue. However, definitely something to consider for a long-term play. Again, total debt to EBIT, they just have high debt. It's just part of like the company as of right now. Kind of take it for what it is. So that kind of ties into this whole return on equity. You have great revenue, and you have a lot of cash generation from their brands. And so as long as they can keep that up and continue to grow, they'll be fine in terms of paying off debt, whatever it may be. And so that's kind of eases the mind for now. Then moving on over into the price to earnings and all the kind of the price ratios. They're fairly expensive at the moment. They are near all-time highs now. However, you have to kind of consider, are we buying into growth or are we buying at a high? Are they going to continue to grow, another $30 above where it could be right now with their potential growth overseas, and as the market may continue, or as the industry may continue to expand? I personally think that there's a lot more room to grow here. I think there are a lot of exciting opportunities overseas, and I think that they have a great opportunity and a great chance at continuing to dominate the market on a much grander scale. So I would personally say that this is more of a buy right now than anything else, just because of that potential growth for the future. So these other companies that you see here, that they are kind of being compared to, SINA and DHX, those two are actually not dating service companies. What they are is they are companies similar to Match, where they have they have portfolios of brands, technology brands. They're like internet services. So they're very, very similar, but they're attacking different industries. So this is just kind of comparing them to those. Seems like it's the best comparison, especially with other dating services industries or dating services companies. They really aren't there much. There's Spark Networks, which really is not money, about 2% market share. I have Meet Group on here. They are the only other dating services company kind of in the dating services industry that has that brand strategy, that brand portfolio strategy. So, but again, if you look at the financials, Match Group much stronger than Meet Group. I would say, even if you wanted to look for growth, I would say Match Group is the company to look for overall growth, as they have so much market dominance that as the market continues to expand worldwide, you'll see Match Group really taking advantage of that. So that kind of concludes the presentation. We can talk more about any of the details in person as well. But thank you so much. I appreciate your time.